Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at this Toro Titan zero turn. Customer says that it'll run from anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes and then it'll cut out on them. He said he'll take a break, go do something for a few minutes, come back, and it'll mow again for about that same amount of time, sometimes a little bit shorter after he does it the first time. I see this quite a few times a year, and it's almost always exactly the same issue, although it could be in a different place on the mower. I'm going to show you how to diagnose and get that taken care of. If you're having the same or a similar issue, whether it's on your zero turn or your riding mower, they're all pretty well exactly the same as far as what happens. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as we go along if you enjoy the content. This has the Toro branded V-twin commercial 24.5 horse engine. Many times they brand these X-Mark also. They're made by Lonson, good engine. This is always supposed to be pointed down, that way you don't get rain in it, just FYI. Otherwise the rain will come down into the engine in extreme cases. The first thing on any V-twin, no matter the case, even though this isn't exactly where the symptoms are pointing us, I like to verify that each cylinder is firing independently. So since this has two cylinders, if we unplug one spark plug on either side, I like to just plug in a different one, and we start it up, it should start without one cylinder in the equation. That would tell us that this other side is good to go. This thing runs perfectly with about 378 hours on it until it cuts out. So it fires up on that side. I could have left it running, but I've got all the doors here closed this morning. It's still pretty early. But it fired up, so we know that cylinder's good. Now let's try the other side. Plug this one back in. And this is just basically telling us that both cylinders are healthy. We've got spark on both sides, and all the push rods are good, the valve train's good, everything is working as far as both sides mechanically. We've got spark on both sides. So this engine, both sides are good. If for some reason one of your sides is not running, check the spark. You can pull the valve cover, check the valve train out. Again, that's not really an issue we're seeing this time. With this issue, many people will initially think it's overheating and it's shutting off. That's almost never the case. The ignition coils, very rarely that would happen, but since you've got two cylinders, that would require both of these ignition coils to fail at exactly the same time for your mower to die. Again, very, very unlikely that that's the case if this is the issue you're experiencing with it dying out after so many minutes. It's almost always a fuel restriction of some sort. If it's running good, you very likely have good fuel. If you don't know the quality of the fuel, you can always drain that and start with some fresh. But what you're going to do is you're going to check now for fuel restrictions. I like to work my way backwards. I like to start at the carb, and I like to work my way towards the tank. So we'll check this here right after the fuel pump coming out, right where it goes to the carburetor to start with. If you follow that fuel line from where the carburetor is, right up under the air cleaner, you'll always find some sort of fuel pump. This is Manuki brand. That's one of the main name brands of a fuel pump. If you've put an aftermarket fuel pump on in the pursuit of this problem, I would switch that back out. Those aftermarket ones do not pump well many times. I'm not sure who makes the one on this Lonson engine off the top of my head. So I'm just going to pull this fuel line off, and I'm going to put an extended fuel line here. We're going to see what the flow is down on that fuel line and go to just a glass jar here. Flow seems pretty solid. The fuel seems pretty clear. But the thing is, this thing runs for 45 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever the case is before it shuts off. It's not always going to present here as a low flow issue. Normally, if you're tracing this kind of issue down, you've already exhausted all your resources. It's already been to the dealer. I see that many times every year. It's already been to another repair shop. You and your buddies and everybody else have thrown ignition coils or fuel pumps or did many different things to try to get this thing taken care of, and it still hasn't worked. Well, everything tests good, right? We've got good fuel supply. Both of the cylinders work perfectly fine. Why does it die out after that period of time? Again, fuel flow. Follow this flow backwards and you will find a restriction somewhere. We're going to work our way backwards from that fuel pump and we're going to find that restriction. I guarantee with the looks of this thing and the grass and everything all over it, this will get into the fuel tank at some point or into a fuel can for the customer. And that is what many times it's right out of the pickup tube in the elbow of the fuel tank. And that's where it comes up and it can't make that 90-degree turn, so it gets clogged. When you first fire it up, you've got all that stuff in the bottom of that tank. It's starting to pull it up, pull it up. Next thing you know, it's completely clogged again and it can't keep up with the fuel supply that the engine's trying to use. That is most likely your issue of what you have going on if you're experiencing these symptoms. Let's work our way some more. Did all that yesterday, got all the way through the fuel system, got blinded by the fact we see this issue all the time and it's always fuel supply, right? Sometimes that'll happen where you go down the wrong road and waste a bunch of time, which if you're here, you've probably done that in one way or another at some point leading up to this. One of the easiest ways if you're having any sort of issue is to wait until the issue happens and figure out what you're missing. Are you missing spark or fuel? Because those are going to be the two things you're missing. You're not going to be missing compression after heating up. You're either losing spark or you're losing fuel to your engine. We let this thing run and it took about an hour and 15 or an hour and 20 minutes and it did die out. I was able to pull the air cleaner off and spray some starting fluid and it fired right back up and it'd run until that starting fluid burned off and it'd die right back out. I was getting plenty of fuel supply. When I tested that again, going to the carburetor, plenty of flow, the fuel's in good shape. So what's the issue? Well, this is one of the things that is very rare. I don't see this happen a lot, but the fuel solenoid that operates on the bottom of your carburetor, it is going bad. When you turn your key to the on position, you can hear that solenoid click, or you should be able to hear or feel it if you're actually touching it. This, after it was heating up, this solenoid is actually not functioning anymore. So it is not pulling this needle in. So this needle pulls in to allow your engine to get fuel. And as soon as this coil fails, it's plugging off fuel supply to your mower. So your mower cannot get any fuel supply whatsoever. And it's acting like it's a fuel restriction because it is. Your carburetor is shutting off the fuel to your engine because the solenoid is failing. I really don't see this issue at all. I think I've only seen it once or twice in all the years I've been doing this with it presenting like this, where it'll run for that period of time and then turn off. Very strange, but a possibility. Now, if yours is running out, obviously, if you spray starting fluid or carburetor cleaner in the air intake and it fires back up, you know you're not getting fuel. So one other thing that could be a possibility is the vent. There are vents on this. And on most mowers that either they'll have an external vent or the cap itself will be vented. If that cap is plugged, it will not allow fuel just like this. You can test that and see if it's actually just a cap issue by loosening the cap. If you loosen the cap and your mower fires right back up after 20 or 30 seconds of cranking, of course, because you have to get fuel back through the lines. If it fires back up and it runs perfect at that point, you know that the issue is the vent of the fuel cap. Or the vent, if your cap is not vented and it has an auxiliary vent, that vent could be clogged. This one comes just to the left side of the engine and comes kind of just to a regular filter. I've never seen an issue with those, but some of them have carbon canisters and different things that can go bad or get plugged. This one was a little bit more difficult to solve than most things, but we ended up getting it figured out. So no big deal. It took a little bit more time than what it should have. If you don't chase the things you see most often, then yeah, kind of hard to figure out what's going on sometimes. If you are spraying that carburetor cleaner or starting fluid or putting fuel in the intake after it dies out and it won't restart, you want to check your spark. You could be losing spark. Again, that's very rare. If you're testing both cylinders and both cylinders are working good, then you're likely not going to have a coil issue because both coils would have to fail at that same time. But if it was only running on one cylinder, it is possible, although very unlikely. So hopefully this helps somebody out if you're having the same or a similar issue on your zero-turn mower or your riding mower with it dying after 15, 20, 45, whatever the case may be, if it's dying out and you think possibly it's overheating. Well, in this case, it was overheating. The solenoid on the carburetor was the issue. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the content, and thank you for watching. Your most likely culprits before we get to the pickup tube in the tank are going to be your fuel filter or your fuel shutoff. Right where those restrict is where you get that plug up at. So we are going to actually test right here at the fuel pump first and make sure there's no restriction there. Never hurts to be thorough with this. I do not see anything. It's very unlikely that it's going to be beyond your fuel filter, but it is very possible anyway. Check the line at every single one of them. There's no reason not to. That is clear as can be. Doesn't look bad, but I don't know if I just put that fold in there when I did this or if it was there before. If you blow through it, seems fine. Doesn't seem restricted at all. Don't think that's the issue. I will be replacing that, of course, no matter what, before we put it back together. Let's try this fuel shutoff. Fuel shut off here. I am not seeing anything in it either. It is perfectly clear. If yours is blocked, you'll notice if you look down in here with the light, you will see grass and stuff in there. It's usually how it presents. Now, wait a minute. Do I see something? No, I don't. That's just plastic. Okay. Thought for a second that I saw something down in there, but I didn't. So here we are. Look in those lines too. Down through. Make sure there's nothing stuck in the line. Again, right at that restriction is usually where it presents. No issues here so far. So now we're going to get further to that fuel tank and see if we can't find an issue at that pickup tube. I'm sure some of you are thinking by now, wow, we've came to all this way, and we don't even know for sure that this is the problem. Well, we'll find out soon, won't we? I'm not real familiar with this setup here. Almost looks like we've got to take the 4 bolts out and remove the whole thing. Get this cleaned out a little bit better first. Get a few bolts removed. This will be 8mm, I believe. I'm using a 5/16 anyway. This does not have a traditional pickup tube like most of them do. Not seeing this fitting very well in my narrative so far, but let's proceed to take this apart. Maybe one of those that never comes to fruition. Just going to take this hose off of here, see if any of this is plugged up at all. That's sure what it seems like to me. See nothing but clear there. And when I blow on this though, this bag completely inflates. I mean, it's pretty hard to blow through, which would mean it's probably pretty hard to vacuum through also. Could that be it? I've tried and I can't really find any information on this whatsoever. I am going to try though. I'm going to try to add some suction to this and see if it'll actually hold a vacuum.